and welcome to a special edition of Difference Makers Discuss Live, where we explore the intersection of global policy, economic challenges, and leadership in shaping a better, more sustainable future. I'm Ainslie van Onselen, Chair of Chartered Accountants Worldwide and CEO of Chartered Accountants Australia and New Zealand. Today we are honoured to have Carmine Di Noia, Director for Financial and Enterprise Affairs from the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD. The OECD plays a pivotal role in fostering international cooperation to build stronger, more inclusive economies. As a leader in global policy making, the OECD oversees initiatives that aim to promote sustainable development, ensure social equity, and guide the digital transformation of the global economy. In today's episode, we will discuss the critical challenges facing the global economy, from the climate crisis to digital transformation, and explore how the chartered accountancy and wider finance profession can contribute to creating solutions that support the OECD's mission for stronger, cleaner economies worldwide. Join us as we explore how finance professionals can lead by example in navigating these complex global challenges. So welcome, Carmine. It's absolutely fantastic to have you here today. You have somewhat of an intimidating CV, but a very, very illustrious career. And so I thought I'd share for those online just a little bit of your biography, if you don't mind. Correct me if I'm wrong on anything. But Carmine, from 2016, was the Commissioner of the Italian Securities Exchange Commission, has a PhD in economics at the University of Pennsylvania, and a doctorate in economic theory. Is a full professor currently in financial markets and banking at the Luis University in Rome. Thank you. Sits on numerous boards and committees, as you would expect. But some of those include being an alternate board member on IOSCO, a board of supervisor at the European Securities and Markets Authority, so ESMA, and is also vice chair of the OECD's Corporate Governance Committee, which will be particularly relevant to our discussion today. But Carmine, perhaps if I can just start with, what does your role entail? So it's Director of Financial and Enterprise Affairs at OECD. Perhaps let our listeners know what does that mean from a day-to-day business?
Yeah, our Director for Financial Enterprise Affairs, DAF, is a large directorate at the OECD. I think is the second largest in terms of substantive directorate, around 270 people. And we are, OECD, is a members-driven organization, 38 countries. Now we are in the accession phase for 8 other countries, important organization for economic cooperation and development. So we work basically with standards. So OECD is a standard setter. And actually, our directorate is serving as secretariat to a large number of bodies, committees that sets standards. And some of them, I think, are also close to those who are listening to this exchange of views.
The accounting profession, yeah.
Yes, and I'm also an accountant, by the way.
Oh, good. Okay, I should have added that to the
and some of that. So we deal basically with I would say 6 main areas. So one area is financial market at large. So I would say supply, demand, the institutional framework. So corporate governance, corporate finance. But also insurance and pensions, but then financial consumer protection, financial inclusion, financial education, and financial literacy, which is quite important. State-owned enterprise, talking about corporate governance. Then there is a big area which is investment and infrastructure, dealing with capital movements, the treaties, so-called. We work with the IMF on that, foreign direct investment and infrastructure. Then there is a big area also relevant, I think, for us, which is responsible business conduct. And then there is an important division in my directorate, and there is an important standard there, which is the MNE, the Multinational Enterprise Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct. Then we have an important also area, which is anti-corruption, which is also, they're all linked to our topics. There is a lot of coordination we try to have. And this is a division serving as a secretariat for an important committee called the Working Group on Bribery, but dealing with a standard which is one of the most powerful standards at the OECD, because it's an international legal convention, the Convention on Foreign Bribery. So this is a binding And then we have competition and antitrust. So basically, also an important division and important, standards. We perform, these activity through committees, okay, where the representative of the 38 countries are sitting at the public authority of those countries, but not only. So depending on the committee, we may have, as I told you, we are 38 plus the European Union countries, but then we are in the accession phase for some of them, but in the committees, in some of them, we may have already other countries. So, for example, the G20 OECD principles of corporate governance, one of the most relevant standard, is also the only OECD standard, which is a standard for the FSB, the Financial Stability Board, is a standard for key sound financial systems. This is a G20 OECD. So also all the G20 non-OECD countries are sitting at the table. So China, India, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, then Brazil, Argentina, Indonesia, for example, we are also accession country. Or in the investment committee, we have many other members. So it is a variable geometry, I would say. This is quite interesting and relevant because, in a sense, many countries, they do decide to join a committee, so to abide by these standards, even if they are not or not yet necessarily full OECD member. And they are, I would say, all in a sense linked. Also, we work within the OECD, very much coordinated with many other directorates, with environment for all the debate, discuss of sustainability, with the ECO department. We work a lot on financial markets issues, debt, and others, or with our employment and labor. We work a lot on pension systems. We work on pension funds. They work more on much broader. So it's or trade, all the colleagues, development, all the colleagues that we work all together. And we work together because obviously the challenges that we're having in these, I would say, also recently, the evolution of of the economy, but also the geopolitical challenges we're having. Also health, after COVID. But this is, I think, that's why we try also to update standards. This week we had recently update of important standards. Why we update standards? Exactly to
have consistency, reliability, etc. So
yes, and to tackle, the new, development you're having in the market, financial markets, in the economy. So it's important. This is also our Secretary General, who is Matthias Cormann, who says that, okay, it's important to be a standard setter, but only if the standards are, they remain relevant if they are updated. But this is the necessary but not sufficient condition. Then they need to be implemented and monitored.
Yes.
Which is the activity also we are doing on these committees.
The accounting profession is really interested in that monitoring component because some of the standards are relatively profession agnostic. But as a professional accounting body, we have the conduct, discipline, monitoring systems in place that complement the relevant regulators. But you touched on some of the macroeconomic trends that we're seeing in the world today. So geopolitical issues, inflationary pressures, cost of living, for example, a key issue in the US election, of course, and also rising inequality. For business leaders, what do you think are the top 3 priorities for business leaders from those sort of macroeconomic trends, if you like?
One thing I would say, in general, these changes we're having in the environment are, we need to tackle them from our point of view, the Director for Financial Enterprise Affairs, in trying to have easier access to finance, for example, which, because other things being equal, this makes, companies, growing more resilient also to shocks. But this is fundamental. And on this, we work with our standards, again, the corporate governance, but also many guidelines. And so with other colleagues also in the SMEs finance. So this is essential because if you have resilient companies, then you have resilient economy. Okay. And this is the creation of jobs and growth. Then, everyone is talking about the twin transition, so digitalization and then ESG, low carbon economy. This is something which is, again, quite relevant. And again, our standards and the update of the standards, the corporate governance principles, I would say the largest, the most important change in the structure of the principle is to have this new Article 6 on sustainability and resilience in terms of how of disclosure, in terms of also how a board, and so also all the committees also, all the controlling mechanisms should tackle really, sustainability issues, and then also the engagement of with shareholders, stakeholders. So this is also very important. But then also why we update standards and we implement them more, because again, to manage all these changes, this geopolitical tension that obviously are affecting a lot, the work of corporation. And so in terms of, in a sense, that the priority is very much linked. Think about, the new structure, I would say, of the economy is that we are having, for example, many groups. So typically a company is a company within a controlling company, and typically is not in the same country as a multinational. There are supply chain and there are value chains. So having, we say responsible business conduct and good corporate governance in a system where also, controls the system of checks and balances, and so the role of accountants is essential. Is more and more challenging and is essential, and I would say, so now maybe I put the hat as an accountant, but obviously is evolving and improving. Why? Because it's not maybe the traditional, verification of, accounts.
Financial statements,
Which in any case is evolving. All the work that, let's say, AFRS, we have a new international standards, but also thinking of the work, not only accounting standard, but on sustainability standards, the work of ISSB, and then in different regional areas, we're having different standards. So this is, I think, the evolution, and that's why we need and we like when we discuss these standards. Not only we discuss in the public domain with members, but we have public consultation. We have also interacting with accountants a lot in, for example, corporate governance, in SOE, in the M&E. So this is for us an essential part.
So one of the key priorities for us at Chartered Accountants Worldwide, so we're a network of 1.8 million accountants representing 16 chartered accounting bodies. And one of the priorities for us is really that capacity building and consistency of how to apply the standards, educate our members so that they can not only apply the accounting standards, but in particular, for example, the sustainability standards that have now being issued globally. And also, obviously, the EU have adopted as well, and Australia has adopted, for example. So that's a really big priority for us, is to uplift our profession, to be able to do something that perhaps wasn't normally in their wheelhouse, dealing with sort of grey kind of metrics. So financials, the numbers are the numbers, right? And now, for example, in Australia, the financial statement auditor is now going to have to be the auditor for climate disclosures. So that's a very key part of what we're doing, is trying to upskill or uplift the capacity of accountants globally in our network to be able to meet that challenge, because I think it's a huge opportunity for the profession. In terms of OECD in that context, with sustainability reporting, sustainability finance, you mentioned, is a key issue. How are you, particularly with your role as the Vice Chair of the Corporate Governance Committee of OECD?
This was a role I had.
Okay.
When I was, so now we are serving as secretary. When I was commissioner of the Italian ASIC, basically I was in that capacity deputy chair of the committee for 6 years, which then in a sense I exchanged in a sense role, because then I'm not anymore the deputy chair of the committee, but I'm the director of the secretariat to the committee. But we work very much on that.
Yeah. So how does the OECD promote ethics and integrity in the business community and the accounting profession to that extent as well? How can they support the OECD in that mission to ensure transparency, consistency of reporting, and the like?
I would say that first of all, we are and we try to be more and more an evidence-based organization. So having, there was a famous, U.S. lawyer, Luis Brandeis, was saying, sunlight is the best of disinfectant.
Yes, I love that line.
And so you need information, data, evidence, and good analysis. Okay. This is, I think, the necessary but not sufficient condition. But also with appropriate information, because others were also saying that too much sunlight can cause cancer. If you flood the market with information, and this is the the prominent, sometimes also accountants, they do have, sometimes it's possible that you need appropriate, information, appropriate disclosure. In terms of analysis, talking about this issue, so we have been, for example, last year we issued, this year, actually, 2024, this basically report on all, sustainability disclosure by all corporates. We have this database, 40,000 companies, then focus on 10,000. So showing how companies make, sustainability disclosure, scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. This was on financial scenario 2022 because we published basically when it was in March, so we hadn't already the 2023. But in a sense, why it's important? There is a lot of disclosure around, but maybe the comparability is not yet there. There is a lot of disclosure, especially of big companies. Maybe also this is an issue, maybe of flexibility and proportionality of standards. But this is in a sense year zero, so year before then the entry into force of international standards. So we are working on the new edition, and this is, for example, something that can be then quite interesting and relevant. We had a good paper on net zero transition for financial companies, banks, insurance, asset managers.
Probably we'll put that paper in our comms for this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then we have, for example, issue also interestingly in this area. Obviously, there is a lot of interest for sustainable finance. We have published this year this global debt report. Is really on bonds, sovereign and corporate bonds, with then the analysis, the focus on sustainable bonds, whatever they are. There is a lot of greenwashing around, but it's interesting that it's still on the back of the envelope. We have 100 trillion market of bonds, both public and private. Sustainable bonds is basically 4 trillion, but is really increasing a lot. There is a lot of interest on supply and demand. There is still a lot of not full, maybe understanding of these instruments. Also, when you issue these instruments, but it's important that we have an increasing, awareness. That's why we work on a lot of also infrastructure, sustainable infrastructure for sustainability. The work on insurance for catastrophes. We have seen, and actually deep thought to the population in Spain in this moment, but how climate extreme events now can happen, even the opposite events. So extreme dry and extreme and flooding can even happen in the same area in different moments. So this is something that it's really very, very important. So this is, I would say, one thing, so the basis. But then you're asking what we are doing, what we can do. Here, the area, by the way, we work also collaborate with IESBA, so during also and also a former chair of the deputy chair of corporate governance committee is Gabriela Figueiredo.
Yes, I've met Gabriela. She was in Australia recently.
Yeah. And we meet her tomorrow, I guess. She's coming here. She's a close friend because she was the chair also of the Portuguese Commission, and she was deputy chair with me of the corporate governance committee. So we hosted her. We collaborate.
Some lunches in Australia recently.
Oh, and we collaborate a lot. We have also spoken the different the events and the other way around. So it is important, this collaboration, because again, this is complementary, and I think again is to raise awareness. I've always been convinced. I worked a lot in Italy before in other capacity, also before being commissioner on corporate governance code, on self-regulation. I'm strongly convinced that if people do understand that a certain behavior is okay, is fair, you have to do it because you really think that is good. It's much better than if you behave in a certain way just because you are afraid of the sanction or
so that's why principle-based ethics.
Absolutely, right? And then this is the root also of also ethical behavior. The principles, have to say, yesterday we had here a nice seminar on the future of corporate governance with gurus coming from the US, and we discussed all this ethical part, and also for board members and for all the system of checks and balances. This is quite an issue. So we also do a lot of vertical on countries or capacity building, and we do our capital market reviews, which we did for Italy, now we're doing for Spain, for Philippines and others, but they are really encompassing a set of, I would say, holistic recommendation, which I think include also, how the appropriate a level of awareness capacity of the different bodies in corporations, but as well as in a public authority. So we need people who are competent and also with appropriate behavior. So I would say this is also another dimension. We try also to keep also governments, they are our let's say shareholder, aware of the necessity to always evolve. Okay, and be present in this area. Obviously, then there are the extreme, let's say, weapons. So the anti-corruption, again, the legal convention. This is
we do money laundering, etc.
Yeah, we OECD also. FATF is a body that is at the OECD. But so when we do the monitoring of countries for the Convention on Foreign Bribery, the legal convention, then is really the monitoring, which is in different steps, is really on the functioning of the judicial system as a whole, but also, all the different rules and bodies. So this is quite important. It ends up with a public report, with a public press release, and countries do take this into account. Obviously, we need also an appropriate and efficient system of sanctions. Then I think that the optimal market is where, the sanction exists, but are not then, applied because people do behave, correctly, because again, they think, not only because they fear, they're afraid, but also they think that it's in the interest of everyone to have a good behavior.
So, Camille, I might just, that you used the phrase sunlight is the best disinfectant. And that's a phrase I've used actually with our membership body in the context of gender equality in the profession. Women in leadership, gender pay gap, things like that. That transparency, consistent reportable data as well is your friend in terms of what actually is the statistics in terms of gender pay inequality, for example. What's the OECD doing in terms of supporting women in leadership, promoting sort of gender equality within the business community in particular? Are you able to take me through some of the initiatives that the OECD is doing in that context?
Well, thank you. I mean, this is a very good, very important topic, I would say, within the OECD and also for what we do for outside. In terms of, let's say, corporate governance principles, they do tackle the issue of gender diversity, not only with respect, the board composition, which is very important, is very also as a symbolic value, but you will not solve, discrimination, gender discrimination with some hundreds or dozens of people in the board. But this is important. And when we revise the principle, because again, we are evidence-based, we have a quite, I would say, updated paper, because it's 2023, with all the situation in all, not only OECD markets, but also others, with respect to the different way you can tackle this. I'm coming from a country, Italy, which is one of the few that put quotas, binding quotas in the law. It was also, I think, done with striking the right balance, so with the entering to force of the law at the beginning after the expiration of, let's say, of the boards, just not to jump into and the composition of, let's say, of the incumbents. Also different quotas, so starting with 20%, going to 1/3, and then now to 40%.
Yes.
Is also a law, like in many other countries. It's not that it's particularly rocket science, but we share this also, which in theory has an expiration, also to solve possible issues of, constitutional, rules on equality that could. So, and then I think obviously the effect, this is binding, has been very important. It's been very important not only for the presence, obviously, of women, but also for, the change, I would say, in the composition, in the mentality of boards, also in the refreshing boards, which in our case were quite the old male club, also very much connected.
So I've read that report and I would really recommend it to our listeners. It is terrific. I've actually even recommended it to my daughter for a high school project. It is brilliant. But and if you're able to look at your profession or look at your firm, look at your industry and compare the OECD average. So the OECD is collating this data, has for a very long time, in terms of the gender pay gap in for respective countries, but you can do, and using the OECD's calculation or formula for gender pay gap, you can use that for your industry, for your business, for your firm, etc. But it also, that report particularly goes into some great detail in terms of what you can do to reduce or narrow the gap in particular. There's a lot of really good tips. And
Yeah, obviously, to talk about gender gap, you need that then you have more participation of women in work, and which I think is still a prerequisite in many countries, in many sectors at different levels. So that's why even in the principles we deal not only, and the recommendation is not only for boards, but also you need in top management, because but also we are obsessed by this. So we see even the effect of foreign direct investment on gender, diverse. So I think we should tackle again holistically, and also we try to also give the good example, inside. I think we also at the OECD, also Secretary General is very proud that we have at the top level 50%, 50-50. And then you may have issues around even the number of top positions, but then, but also in our directorate is the same. We have improved, quite a lot. We have, different also initiatives for tackling the issue, improving. Then I have to say that obviously diversity is not only then a gender issue, but there are many dimensions you shouldn't underestimate, or sometimes in some cases, this is as a flag to hide even many other discriminations. So we should be also tackling all of them. But again, I think data and the different standards, even the recent we presented last week with the Secretary General presented the new state-owned enterprise guidance, also corporate guidance, and also they basically are updated also for the new corporate governance principle, but also this is an issue. Gender is there. So we can always, we need a collective effort, I think, to tackle this issue. But I think, honestly, I've seen a very important evolution in not only in the debate, but in what's happening in reality. So I'm from a country with a prime minister woman. So
yes. I think the United Nations Rapporteur in relation to for women empowerment, Elizabeth Broderick, she's a former Human Rights Commissioner in Australia. She has a great line, which is, what gets measured matters. And it's in that context that the OECD's data that it publishes, it produces, and so that you have those historical records is so important, because it really sets, I guess, the tone for other countries to say, okay, well, if I think economically I'm as good as that country, or I want to aspire to be as affluent and as influential as that country, then looking at things like the gender pay gap and how they appear and how that correlates to their economic success is so important.
Numbers is important, because I'm coming from this kind of experience also to improve when again, different ages ago. But then when you have the numbers and you have peer pressure, is better. You say, okay, but the others are doing like this. It's not, again, imposition. I think bottom up is much better than top down in many instances.
Now, you mentioned early in the podcast that you're an accountant, and I missed that in your bio. So we'll have many young listeners listening in. And so in terms of your career and what you've seen, looking at the economic climate that we're facing and some of the challenges that we're facing as well globally, what advice would you give to a young CA coming through the ranks?
Okay. I could say a general thing, which is curiosity. So I'm a strange animal. I'm an economist, in theory, pure economist, but then many people think I'm a lawyer. They call me Avvocato Di Noia. And I think I actually got my degree at university in Rome in business economics. So that's why, and I didn't want to specialize at the beginning in, let's say, pure economics, or really all that was this juridical, let's say, field. So I did everything. And then after that, so I took the exam for account. At that time, you could take without practicing. Now you need a couple of years of practice.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you mentored practical experience, yes.
And then I think it's very important, because obviously for me, it's something that remains. You can more easily read, numbers of corporates. Then I had, different kind of experiences, then being also a supervisor of listed companies, both as an officer at the Securities Commission, then also as a commissioner. Then I work in association of companies. So I think, so having an interdisciplinary approach is very important. So not being only focused, one area. So, okay, but then you see that this is what you need even in this profession, because all the update that now you have to do for all the sustainability part, because all the, would it be integrated reporting, would it be the different kind of, we have different experience all over the world, and by the way, the market is not anymore the national market for all of you, so you will probably get a job not in your country or in a company, in any case in a group. So you need to be really open. Luckily, we have international standards around, which could, like OECD, but in terms of accounting standards, obviously the amazing role that IFRS Foundation and all the ISSB and IFRS. I'm in the IFRS Advisory Council also. We're having a meeting next week. So also I refresh on my memory of all these issues. And no, but I think it's important to be really interdisciplinary because the evolution that we're having in rules, regulation, but also in the economy as a whole is broad. So always, again, be curious, be eager, be hungry to always to learn. I'm 58. I'm happy to be here because I'm learning new things, and I'm so happy to do that. And then, now it's completely also bigger to, I think, change job, change position. I think mobility is essential also in your growth of human capital, and I think also of salary. So, but it's better. I think it's not anymore the timing of being in the same position. Also, maybe as an accountant, but moving would it be in a company or also as an advisor?
Yeah, people are moving jobs. So
This
much
is
more.
honestly very relevant. Then if you want to come to the OECD, we have a lot of vacancies. Check our website, and accountants are very much welcome here.
That's terrific. Well, thank you so much. I think the emphasis that you had on the value of curiosity is just so critical, I think, in today's world, particularly with AI and generative AI, making specializations kind of lesser focus, and it's more the breadth that you need. So that interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary approach, I think, is going to be absolutely critical. So that's fantastic insight. So, I think thank you for joining us. The work that
This was a real interview, not with ChatGPT.
That's right. No, exactly. It was this is real humans, real humans. But thank you for your service to the global community. What the OECD does in terms of promoting economic prosperity and equity, I think, is a really terrific and absolutely critical and important factor for the world's economy. So thank you.
Yeah, we hope to. I mean, we try to do our best. Our motto is better policies for better lives, and so. I mean, maybe we are dreamers, but we really think that we can give a contribution, a small contribution to the growth, to try to tackle inequalities and all diversities. And I think, I can testify. I mean, I was already working and in contact with the OECD in the past, but I think we focus on our job, but I think we are really, we hope, and then also with the collaboration with also contact and interaction with all of you, including all the company.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And to our viewers online, thank you for tuning into this special edition of Difference Makers Discussed Live.